Hello everybody, welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 6, Round 12. We're here at Monza for the first elimination race of the post-season. I cannot wait for this one. Monza, last season and the season before, gave us some of the most dramatic finishes in the league's history. So, I'm absolutely hyped for this one. Jacko is with me in the commentary box. I think we both kind of want to be racing in this one, but, well, the spectator view will have to do.
5 more seconds, I would have got the tweet out.
Ah,
there we go.
You could have just, had a dramatic pause, but well, we'll roll with it.
It doesn't matter too much. They've only just got to 10 drivers to actually start the timer, even though they were told about a minute ago.
I know, this is a thing, they're slacking off a little bit actually tonight, the drivers, which is a shame because they got here early, but they realised they were here before 7 and they're like, no, we can't start early. That would be olden JACKOCAR days.
That would be ILR 8.
I would be, ILR 8, you're right.
But anyway, welcome to Monza then. We'll quickly get it out the way with one change tonight, which is no Sullivan Lewis. In place of him, we welcome back Michel Corris. Stages are lap 7 and lap 13. The formation lap returns, and there are 2 jokers in the form of Jaco Sullivan and Jamie Griffiths, both with 3 wins between them this season. But yeah, Monza, scene of the closest finish ever in JACKOCAR, 0.033, when it was actually Jamie Griffiths winning from Arnaud, who DNF before the line, but because he crossed the line, was reinstated. We had the crash after the second chicane last season, which took out Ben and Nesty, and Jordan slipped through, and in fact it allowed Jamie Wright to pick up enough points to advance. We saw OKK win the first ever throwback race here. A lot of history at Monza. It's one of those true JACKOCAR tracks, isn't it? And we love it.
Indeed, I very much enjoy this track, and I don't know, like I say, it's just these drivers don't know what they're doing when they come around here, but at the same time, we end up with results like, I believe Corey won from last on the grid here, so yeah, I really do think this is one which you can't really predict. So I don't really know what to expect tonight. The timer has restarted, if you might have seen. We mentioned this on Tuesday in the Kia series. Of course, you can choose your own tyre allocation now for qualifying and the race as a result. And I'm expecting to see some variations on strategy. Perhaps we'll see, more safety car pit stops, because people will be able to plan their races more around that, because they'll get more sets of mediums and hards. And so that won't really make much of an effect in qualifying, I wouldn't have thought, but it's just something worth keeping an eye on in the race. And I wonder if the drivers have been practicing. Some of these guys were obviously in the Kia Series race on Tuesday night, so they'd know a little bit more about how that might play out.
Yeah, of course, Tuesday night, Tuesday coming, we should say, is Monza, isn't it? So it's a good test for those guys to get their eye in who do race in the lower tier here. A very exciting end actually in the Kia series. Also got some time. Was it turn 3, lap 35 on Tuesday night? That was a good one, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness! You see you on that last 2 laps, just going, what was it, from 12th to 4th in one corner?
11th to 4th, yeah.
That was possibly because we were too busy trying not to sort of get confused, because what was it? Jess got turned around, and then it was Harry Collier going through the middle of turn 3, and somehow Yuri getting caught up in all of it, and before you know it, you just going right through the middle of it. And the whole time this is happening, I'm sort of thinking, I predicted this exactly would happen because of how jammy it'd been. And
my race had been awful up to that point as well. I had 34 awful laps, and then he stole the podium.
Gotta say, Corey's doing a good job of getting himself out on time, isn't he?
I do believe our timing might be glitched.
Don't tell me we got that new glitch again. I say new glitch, returning glitch from last year. Because I can see Corey is exiting the pits now, so it's only about over a minute after his slot began. But he's out now in the Stars and Stripes, and I believe there's another car of Connor coming up right behind us. I do actually believe there's a chance that it is just him being late. So maybe you might want to have a look at that in the stewards, because that'll just make Corey's day, won't it?
Yeah, it's very late, isn't it, if it is the case. But we'll see. We won't judge anything just yet, Owen.
I'd never do that.
No.
Although, of course, with Corey, you do make a little exception, but...
I do wonder if Connor will actually drop off the back of Corey. Just so he gets a little bit of airtime, or perhaps he wants a bit of the slipstream, who knows?
Well, do you know what? It might not be the worst idea in the world as he decides he doesn't fancy taking a Della Roger chicane Connor to get a little bit of a slipstream if there's an opportunity for it, but he's now backed off enough so that he won't end up in the way. We're not going to see much of Connor's lap, I suppose, as a result of this, so let's just have a wee look at his car. Usual purples and blacks, and so I suppose we'll see him on the grid because Corey, only 5 seconds up the road from him, we're going to have to focus on his lap first, of course, because this is a man who's here. Wow, he's looking just to finish, isn't he? He's had quite the week, has Corey. And, yeah, he sort of still wants to get in the Championship 5, and we're all sort of standing there thinking, is he mental? But, well, if there's any track where he can get that started, it is the place where he won from last on the grid last season, I believe. So, let's see if he can kick this off tonight with a very positive result as he hits the DRS, and we're going to hit the pretty much highest top speeds of the season. You can see that'll be hitting right up to the 215, 16 miles an hour, possibly even 17. So you can see how trimmed out the cars are. Gets to slow down for the first chicane. Tricky traction zone on the exit. You can see he's stuck in third gear there, just to make sure he didn't have any wheel spin, and it went relatively well as he heads through the Curva Grande. Stick to the inside line here. To have the shortest run towards the Della Roger chicane. The curves here are absolutely lethal, so be careful when you're hitting these because it can damage the underfloor. It can also send your car bouncing off the track on the exit, but Corey has made it through relatively okay. Now the Lesmos. 1 is pretty easy to get round, but 2, the traction zone is possibly the hardest on the track because if you hit that curve on the exit too hard, you will be in the wall on that right hand side, and I would expect to see at least 1 or 2 drivers making that mistake at some point tonight. And now the Ascari chicane, not as difficult as it used to be in the previous games. This is a corner you can relatively easily go essentially flat out through now, through that exit section, and now it's only the Parabolica. I know it's not called the Parabolica anymore, but realistically everyone's going to keep calling it the Parabolica, and he heads through it. Looks good, just be careful on the exit. No launch curbs, unfortunately, but well, we'll get him some other way. As he comes up to the line, it's a decent lap from Corey. It's a 1 minute 20.223, and Connor, we might just about see him cross the line to go 1.5 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, very decent lap for Corey. Someone with only 1 leg at the moment. That's a cracking start to qualifying. Of course, what was he, P2 last week, or was he pole? I can't quite remember around Suzuka before it all went wrong at turn 2 in the race, but here comes Michel Corey sent through Ascari and down towards Parabolica, back in the Cup Series for the first time since Saudi Arabia. And of course on that day it was Jake O'Sullivan who won the race. But what can Michel do with a best finish of P6 this season? Up to the line he comes. What will it be for the Kia Series substitute? It is P2 at 21.3.
Trying to figure out what the yellow flag might be for. Hopefully it's just a car on an outlap letting Pete through. But well, let me just quickly check what MK Bourne is, if I can actually find it, because he'd be the other car on the track. I don't think there's any issues. It must have just been a car letting him through, because you don't want to see yellow flags out there on a qualifying lap, because it tends to mean it's gone wrong. But as Pete heads through the middle sector, he needs a big week this time. I mean, this keeps happening to him. It just keeps happening, doesn't it? He cannot catch a break, nor can Jess, by the looks of it. I've seen her Kia Series go terribly wrong on Tuesday. She has left the session mid-qualifying.
MK Bourne's on the wall at the exit of the first Lesmo.
First Lesmo.
Yeah, this is a man who can win the... he's going to be beached as well. That's not a good place to get beached.
Really not a good place to get beached. The next car coming past, you can see there, OKK. And this will be a black flag for MK Bourne. Absolutely nothing he can do about that now, as Pete will cross the line, but obviously with an invalid lap time, but he will at least be ahead of the now disqualified MK Bourne.
Yep, MK Bourne on the eve of when he could win the IndyCar Championship at whatever track we're racing at tomorrow. It's not Laguna Seca, it's the Indy Road Course. That would be the first championship for MK Bourne. Of course, he is, I think he's one of the only drivers who's competed in every single JACKOCAR series. That's NASCAR, that's WRC, that's F2, Cup Series, Kia Series, and you know what? He's been in contention to win all of them at one point or another as Michael Okeke begins his lap Still showing form is OKK, isn't he? But then just not quite getting the result at the end of the race, the result that he deserves into turn 1 and then turn 2. What do you think of his season so far? I think he should be in the playoffs.
I also think he should be in the playoffs, but it could be a blessing in disguise. We often find that if a driver who we think is good enough for the playoffs doesn't make it, they can then get through that Championship 5 purely through winning the chase. But the issue is he's in this chase with Christian Hataro. And I think that creates a really difficult scenario for him. I would imagine it'll be OKK and SD Matsu, Christian Ataros, who'll be fighting away for that one. So it'll be, an intense end to the season for those lot. And I do think OKK, I agree, he should be in the playoffs. He should have won in Silverstone, really. If he just got the traction down properly at the final corner, he'd have been in. But as it is, he's going to have to do it a slightly different way. And it looks like a decent lap so far here, and we know we expect him to be well up near the front of the grid, so this should be all good for the Mercedes liveried car as he heads through the final corner now. Will it be a Mercedes-esque lap as he comes up to the line? 1 minute 20.223 to beat. It looks decent. Just behind Corey, but a competitive time indeed.
You know what let him down there was his entry into the second Lesmo. He was way off the curb. And that, I think, is you'll find the time that he's missing out to Corey there as we move on to Yuri. By the way, OKK coming into this -4 off the cut to SD Mats.
And I tell you what, Yuri's a man who'll be fighting with a little bit of anger in his heart tonight, having seen the Kia Series finale go wrong in pretty much every way imaginable. Apart from DNFing, but quite frankly, he might as well have DNF'd early on with how badly it ended up going in the end, as he only qualifies P3, a second off the pace here. And I know he still says he's running this season's Alex Rossi colours, but he is now officially in the Arrow McLaren team, so I reckon you can, it change. I'm gonna keep bringing it up, lad.
Lovely toe for Ben Harrett here, by the way, down the back straight as OKK gets out of the way as we head into Ascari then. This is the man as well who has been knocking on the door of podiums and race wins all season, but he invalidates. -10 to SD Mats coming into tonight. He could have done without that.
He really could have. That is a potentially huge error for Ben Harrett. What was the time going to be? I'm sure he'll still go flat out to the line, but I reckon it would have been pretty damn competitive, especially with that toe. It would have been in 3rd place, only a couple of tenths off the pace, but as it is, he's 13th at absolute best. SD Mats then, he needs to be up with OKK realistically. Can he though put himself right up to the top of the timing screens as he heads through the Ascari chicane? No issues with the invalidation on the exit, unlike of course what we saw with Ben Harrod. And so it is only the final corner to go now. You can see synchronised weaving in the background. That's always a pleasant sight. But SD Mats will be worried about that. He'll be looking towards the finish line and that 120.222, which he doesn't manage to beat, just behind OKK. And that is how competitive this is at the top. All these top 3, very much the big men in the Chase Championship. But what about the playoffs? Well, Tease, we know he's proven he's got pace. Obviously, it all went wrong multiple times in the last race at Suzuka. The puncture at the end, of course, wasn't his fault. He was certainly in the running for a podium that day. He sits at the moment
+2.
in trouble-ish. +2. Could go wrong if he has a bad race tonight. I expect he will be feeling the pressure as well as he comes up towards the line. Tease, it's not going to be all that competitive. Only 4th place, nearly a second off the pace. And that is definitely a man who will be feeling that pressure tonight.
But at least it's valid for Tez. He's coming into tonight with no practice, unlike the last 2 races where he's put hours and hours into it. So good for him to at least get a lap on the board. As we move to Leroy, he comes into the playoffs +8 tonight, but invalidates. And that is music to the eyes of Jordan and Gareth, who we'll see coming up right now, in fact. Jordan Lane, 74 races in the Cup Series without a race win. Will he get it this season? Of course, he is -2. We did a poll earlier on this evening, Owen, and the people said that Jordan and Gareth, being 9th and 10th, are the 2 that are going to go home. Will that be the case, or can Jordan, who needs to find 3 positions on Tez, 3 points, sorry, can he stick it on pole? Can he go and win a couple stages, make life easy? Can he get through to the round of 8? Out of Ascari he comes in. The man from Sheffield running the the colours that you really like, isn't it? I think there's a bit of Sheffield Wednesday in there, mixed with some Owen Wyatt green and some highlighter yellow.
Indeed.
But through the final corner goes Jordan. And what can he do up to the line? It looks semi-decent, I'll give it that. 119, 120. It's P4 for now. Gareth Hall next.
And Gareth needs, I would almost argue, a complete miracle tonight. He is so far away, 13 points off the cut line. He needs to be right up at the sharp end and hope that things go run around him. Or, of course, hope that he can win a race for the first time in the Cup Series. That might be the easier option to work out. And we've seen what he's been like on his mass, with Tuesday night being evidence of him not being maybe the best. So, yeah, he'll be targeting that P1 tonight. And through the middle sector, I mean, the game's always going to call it purple, 53.6. That seems relatively in the ballpark. And he's relatively comfortable through the Ascari chicane as well. And so, once again, only Parabolica to go. And this needs to be, at the very least, in front of Jordan and Tees, if not, right up at the sharp end with Corey, KK and SD Mats in with that group. And you'll see the finish line up in front of him. 1 minute 20.22 to the beat. He's not going to get anywhere near it. He's in between Jordan and Tees. He needs more than that if he wants to survive tonight.
Yeah, his entry into Parabolica was a little bit wide. He wouldn't have liked it, and probably cost him a couple of attempts, which a couple of attempts would have put him only P4 to be fair, so he was never going for pole. Up next is Jake O'Sullivan, the first of two jokers that we'll see. Of course, Jake, a two-time race winner this season and a one-time JACKOCAR Cup Series champion. What can he do on his joker? He won this race on the track last season, was it? Or season before, sorry. But he has now invalidated, so he's going to have to come through from the back, but he has the advantage of only having to do one pit stop.
Yeah, well, we saw last week that he is able to make it work in the race when it's not in Saudi Arabia, so you'd hope the floodgates are open from that point. So 15th at best, but we'll hopefully still see some good form.
Oh, Kieran!
Nicely saved, young man,
save.
But it is going to cost him a good few seconds there. The man who was on his joker last week nearly won in Japan with it, but he's going to be also starting low down the field. He's not really in any sort of danger though. He's well advanced into the next round of the playoffs, but still, that's the exit of the Lesmo 2. I'm expecting to see that in the race causing a lot of problems. They won't all be able to save it like Kieran did.
Kieran, one of four drivers advanced, along with Jamie Wright and Ben Shaw and Jake O'Sullivan, of course. He will come up to line. It's going to be like a deep 124 here, isn't it? 125 even.
Oh, and Jamie Griffiths has hit the wall as well. Again, he's relatively comfortable. I say relatively comfortable. He's not really, but not if he's starting P19 in the race, and that's where he might end up. He's lost so much time, although there is, of course, a lot of cars you haven't set last, so he will move up a little bit, but he'll be nowhere near where he really needs to be tonight. And I wonder if that'll give Casper, who's had such a tricky time with his wheel going a bit kaput, he needs a few things to go his way tonight to get himself in a comfortable enough position. Obviously, I mean, again, he is... is he comfortable? No, he's not. He's done the exact same thing that...
not on the racing line, Casper. Oh, good save.
Yeah. Exact same thing we saw Jamie Griffiths do. These guys are making it difficult for themselves. I actually really don't know how to call this.
Casper is +8, by the way, and 2 race wins to his name, but we're going to leave him and go and join Ben Shaw, I think. By the way, Ben Shaw, do you want to start, Owen?
You've already given me it, but let's go again.
Oh, I gave it to you off air. Ben Shaw, he has never raced in the first 2 Cup Series seasons at this track, but in season 3, 4 and 5, 3 starts at Monza and 3 DNFs, the most recent of which come on the exit of this corner here, when he collected half the field after a little battle with Casper, and it allowed Jordan and Jamie Wright to slip through and advance their way into the next round of the playoffs. It's where it ruined Christian Hataro's season last season, but Iceman getting through there comfortably for the moment. Can he get through the entire length of the race as we head down then towards Ascari? He's finally had his first pole position now this season. He had to wait a while for it, and only the 1 win so far, but can he make his life a little bit easier with a few extra points as we head into the round of 8? Already advanced, of course, but points will not hurt you if you're gaining them throughout the playoffs. Then round the corner. It's looking good. It's a lot faster than other drivers, I think. Oh, and this could be a new pole position time. Corey sits at the top for now, but now it's Iceman with one driver to go. He's 6 tenths clear of Corey.
And I would imagine that'll be pole position in the bag because, as you can see, Jamie Wright is using up a set of the medium compound tyres. I don't really know why he's doing this, because obviously, I mean, you can qualify on whatever tyre you want, but you can also start on whatever tyre you want, regardless of where you qualify. So quite why he's scrubbing a set of mediums. I would rather just be sticking the softs on and qualifying on pole that way. But, well, Jamie's going to go with a slightly different method. We'll see if it pays off for him in the race. And if this can go anywhere near the front, that'll be absolutely extraordinary. As we ride on board with him, the checkered flag is out, and it is a relatively competitive time. But thanks to the tyres, it's not going to be at the front. It will be P5, 9 tenths off the pace. I would imagine, offset with the tyres, he would have been on the front row. I don't think he would have been beating Iceman, though. The man on pole position.
Yeah, and that really ruins our cumulative total, doesn't it, of closest poles and closest time between first and second, so we might have to bin off that stat. But crucially for Iceman, with that pole position, obviously he gets a playoff point, but the single point he gets from it puts him into third in the playoffs ahead of Jake O'Sullivan, so he's now +1 on Jake. And of course Jake was ahead on countback because of his 2 wins, so that is a massive point for Ben with his second pole of the season and his 8th in the Cup Series.
Look at him celebrating across the line, making us wait for it. And it's a well-deserved pole position. I mean, if you're able to be on pole by half a second, I tell you what, the rest of the field, they'll be very much needing a good launch of the grid. Because we've seen in recent races, you can dominate a JACKOCAR race, as mad as they are, and Iceman will be hoping for that as he lines up on pole position for the Italian Grand Prix. With Corey second, OKK third, ST Mats fourth, J-Luke fifth, Jordan 6th, Gareth, Tees, Yuri and Michel Goris, the top 10. Then we have Connor, Kieran, Jamie Griffiths, Casper, Jess, Leroy, Jake, Ben Harrett, Pete and MK Bourne. It feels like a bit of an upside down grid really when you look from third down. So this could be a very interesting race.
It sure does. That, by the way, just to mention, it is OKK's best qualifying of the season. But yeah, Gareth and Jordan up there when Tez and Leroy are not up there, so that is a big chance for them to advance. And now we're just seeing the weather.
Yes.
Anything can happen.
We've got the formation lap on, by the way, so don't need to worry about the time running down. It means we can sit here and hype up a wet race, a full wet start. And I wonder if that'll throw Jokers out the window. Who's on Jokers again, sorry?
Jake O'Sullivan and Jamie Griffiths.
Yeah. This could well be multiple pit stops from wets to inters to dryers or whatever. MK Bourne is screaming WTF in the chat on Twitter, so I'm guessing the weather forecast may well be saying some funky things that may not be helping the drivers out too much. They'll all be starting on the full wet, so there's no point looking at that. So I'll keep position change up for you lot at home as we begin the formation lap for the first time in a very long time.
I think it's the first time since Championship 5 last season, isn't it?
It's been a while.
Very much mistaken.
We've missed you, formation lap.
There's just something about it, isn't it? You get this, I don't know, a couple of minutes to build up what's going to happen, and we do actually have quite the build up for this end of the round of 10. The key drivers in this one for me are Jordan and Gareth starting side by side, -2 and -13. I must correct myself as well. Tez was actually P8. Of course, so many people invalidated. But Jordan is currently 2 positions ahead of Tez as it begins, but he needs to be 1 more. He needs 3 points to be clear and advanced because of Tez's win. As for the other nearby drivers, Leroy P16 and Casper is P14. So should Gareth manage to get himself on the podium and be 11 points clear of Tez, 15 points clear of Tez, so that would be a P3 with Tez in the wall, then he would advance. But there's so much, there's so many things that can go on here, Owen.
There really is.
We just don't know how to call it, do we?
This is one of the most intense situations that you can possibly find yourself in. And it might also explain the qualifying gap. With Iceman being that half a second clear, is he running a full qualifying setup? Is he banking on straight line speed, doing him the business and hoping that he can just get through these wet corners with enough grip, enough traction? Less downforce is less traction, so it's not a guarantee it'll work for you. As MK Bohr is crawling around at the back, he's leading himself a lot more than 10 car lengths. But yeah, will we see his qualifying setup possibly come back to bite him? Will this let Corey, who spins through the final corner, have a chance at him? He needs a big result today. Okay, he'll be happy enough to see Corey spin in front of him on this race start. You can probably have a look at the race leader, but as we all line up on the grid, this could be one of the most exciting elimination races we've ever seen. The last time we had an elimination race in the wet was in Japan last season, and we saw all sorts of carnage. We saw a great performance from Kieran to win, and we've just seen a few disqualifications on the way to the grid. So they're all starting to feel the nerves. Hopefully we don't see too many major pile-ups this time. And I've noticed a lot of cars are being put behind their start line. Hopefully the game will sort that out. But that's a lot of drivers being disqualified from their formation laps. And that's the game punishing them for that. And so Corey will get to start from his grid slot. This is a big opportunity for him to make something happen here. As we see the 5 lights on. And eventually they will get underway. And I'm really hoping we don't have any issues again. But boogity, let's go racing, let's eliminate some drivers. Corey does not get off the line well, he's going to be way down, and we see OKK getting blocked off, and who's going to take the lead of this one? SD Mats has had a superb run, and down in towards turn 1, he's got the inside line, but he goes off the road, he takes a penalty for it, and that's a major mistake for him, because he'd got the start he wanted.
Yeah, and Corey's managed to recover that position that he lost to OKK, but in fairness, they've all lost out because of Esti. But where did he come from on the start? That was incredible. Gara fighting with Yori further back. In fact, Yori gives him the position. I noticed Tez struggled off the line, and Connor fighting with teammate Ben Spurs.
Oh, 3 wide nearly into the Della Roger chicane, and T's having to cut across as well. A bit like we saw with Esti Mats at the start, but a lot of side by side in that midfield, and Connor nearly losing it. Anyone going into the back of him? It was definitely quite close, and they are not giving themselves any room to make mistakes as Kieran goes flying off the road. Where does he end up? He's down in 18th place now. He'll fall right to the back as Jess goes up his inside, and Jake on the exit of Lesmo 2 has become the first retirement as we do get our first safety car of the day, and I would expect this could be quite the theme.
Of course, we're only allowed 5 safety cars as well. What a shame though for Jake, but he will be so grateful that he's advanced. However, massively disappointed. A race he won last season on the road, and knowing as well that Ben has already overtaken him this evening, we've not even finished the race. He is going to be at risk in the round of 8 when we come to eliminate drivers in 2 weeks' time once again in Mexico. It's Esti Mats leads the first lap, by the way.
Indeed, but that 3-second penalty is not going to go away at any point tonight. He will be absolutely livid with himself because he had the move done. Maybe he could have tried to keep it on the road, even if he went wide at turn 1, make the second corner, and you may just have been able to get away. 2 non-boundary stops happening with Casper and Kieran having to stack. Luckily they're doing that under safety car, so it won't ruin Kieran's race too much because the game will let him catch up. And it just takes absolutely forever, doesn't it, to get the tyres changed.
At least he knows who his teammate is. That's something to know. Is good to know early on if you happen to be racing your in-game teammate, which of course is Casper for Kieran. That's 2 playoff drivers right at the back. I know Casper's on pad now, but we do have a right old mixed up field, and leading the way is the man who is +3 in the chase, but arguably a man that had the pace to be in the playoffs anyway, and also had the pace to win this race last season.
Connor's way off the road. I wonder how he's managed that under the safety car. That is deep into the Lesmo 1 gravel trap. Hopefully he hasn't come together with another driver and put any damage on a car, but I think that'll get away with it. But that was a bizarre situation for Connor, who'll be sheepishly catching himself back up to the rest of the field. So let's just quickly look through the gainers and the losers. Obviously, we saw Aston Martin gained those 3 spots on the grid and went up into the leads. That was fantastic from him. But Jamie Griffiths, a bit like we saw last week in Japan, was able to make a massive amount of places. Ended up P6 at the end of that one once again, just as it was then. Not quite from P20 as it was, but still P13 to 6, not bad. And then obviously Ben Spurs from 18th to 9th. And NK Bourne from 20th to 12th. So definitely some decent moves happening through the field.
So just updating our fans in the chat. Matthew Rosemond asking for the tyres to be put on screen, Owen. But of course they're all on wets anyway.
Let's have a... We'll get the man what he wants, although I would have thought it would be... Oh, well, to be fair. Okay. You may have a point. Casper is not coming off Inters.
Yeah. So clearly Inters is not the way.
Well, that might keep the safety car a little bit longer.
To speak to Matt Rosemond once again, they're all on wets.
Yes.
And the other question is it 2 mandatory stops during a wet weather race? The answer is yes. And of course, the 3 stops you've seen so far, they're all non-mandatory. So that's Casper still has to pit twice, as does Kieran, as does the entire field, apart from Jamie Griffiths in P6, who only has to pit once because he's on his Joker.
It's looking good, that Joker, isn't it, so far? But with the way the rain is, you just never know how it's going to be. I mean, if it's going to be full wet the whole way, then you should be alright with it. But, we'll see. It tends not to do it in a jet. I don't think we've ever seen a JACKOCAR race go full wet from start to finish. So I'd be surprised if it doesn't let up at some point. But will this safety car wait for Casper? It's already been out for 3 laps. And as SD Mats crawls through the Ascar chicane, I'm wondering if it will let them go, because Casper isn't a million miles away, and if they do a little bit of backing up, well, the safety car lights have gone green, which would suggest they don't fancy bringing it in. I mean, I don't really tend to understand what Codemasters are up to, but maybe they will. No, it will go in. It will go in. So they left it pretty late, but I expect that to happen, really. And so SD Matson, he'll be going towards what would be the DRS, well, not actually detectable, wouldn't it be? Just behind the... Well, I'll tell you, it's that line there. Yes. Yeah. It's a safety car line, which isn't really used for safety cars anymore, because mainly they just go to the start-finish line. And so we are away once again, and SD Mats is running clear. And I tell you what, Corey is all over the back here of... Ben, do you want to go for the move into turn 1? He does move to the inside line. We know Corey's won for an accident on the safety car restart. He tends to be quite aggressive on them. As you see, Jamie, right, oh, and look at that, Okeke getting shunted round the corner. And that keeps him in a straight line, because he was going to spin as Jamie Griffiths was right up the back, and Gareth is round the outside. He's the man who was pushing Okeke round, and he's now up into the top 5, so a good restart from him. As you see, Iceman and Corey have swapped positions, and Corey will be chasing after SD Mats now. We know how aggressive, like I say, he is, so definitely keep your eye on that. As you see a few cars going wide and off the road, and I believe it's Yuri having to take the escape route, but it was also another car off, and it's Tees who ends up into the wall. That shouldn't need another safety car. Lucky he avoided everyone as he spun. And we see Ben Spurs continuing his superb start. He's all over Jamie Griffiths, and he's got a good exit out of the second Lesmo, and he'll be making that 12th position up and all the way to P6 in just 4 laps. Superb stuff, but they're going to go side by side all the way down to the Ascaris again. Surely Jamie, on his Joker, will do the sensible thing and just let him go.
That's absolutely what he does. Just to recap on the move that Corey pulled on Iceman, who went deep into turn 1, and then Corey did a lovely little switch back to get him into turn 2. It took a while to get the power down, but once he did, he secured the position, has now found 4/10 in one sector on SD Mats. In fact, he's on the back of him, Owen, on the exit of the Parabolica. Corey looks like he's going for this tonight, and they're both going to pit.
Getting the first mandatory stop out of the way. With the amount of safety cars we might well get tonight, this is not a bad move, but how many are going to have to stack? Because we only have 6 in the pits at the moment, now 7, 8, 9, so we'll see a lot of potential stackings happen here. For the most part, they're looking like they're getting away with it, but this is always the thing you have to worry about when you're seeing mass pit stops in the league, where you don't know who your teammate is. I think they'll all get away with it, as Casper is in the pits for the 3rd time in this race. And so as they come out of the pits, Corey all over the back of SD Mats. Will he be straight on the attack? We know SD Mats struggles with that turn 1, and he's done it again. He's not been able to get through there as efficiently as he would have liked. And Corey, I'm sure he knows he's a faster man. Let's see if he can go for it.
He just cannot get the power down out of turn 2, can he? But great comment in the chat there saying, surprisingly, Corey hasn't crashed yet with only 1.5 knees. That's my favourite comment of the season. Who is it? Timo Gertz has said that. Thank you very much. But to be fair to Corey, the unlucky nature of his season and the unfortune he's had, he's always been like towards the front of the field. Like, he still has the pace, just can't finish a race. So him leading or chasing the leader is no surprise. He can win this race 2 seasons in a row. The only thing I will say, we've never had a repeat winner of Monza as MK Bourne retires from the session. Owen Wyatt.
Could be another safety car, and that is good news. That is good news if you have just pitted for the first time, because it means that Jamie Griffiths' Joker, with where he is right up at the front, it becomes a bit nullified for Corey especially, who in the chase a win is so valuable. What this does, as Jamie speeds under safety car, makes it even worse for him. So that essentially knocks that Joker out, I would have thought, because he'll have to. As well. And when you do a drive-through, does that wreck your Joker actually? I don't think we've ever actually had to deal with this situation before.
How would it wreck your Joker?
Well, you're going through the pit lane, aren't you?
Oh, is it a drive-through, is it?
A drive-through penalty.
Yes, in that case it would wreck your Joker, because it's not a pure one-stop.
So that is Jamie's Joker card pulled, and unfortunately is not quite going to work out the way he was hoping it to. And so it means everyone who's made their first mandatory stop is very much in the running, and that would mean that Gareth is potential. Well, he's off the track actually as Gareth. He's just been overtaken by Ben Harrett, who I think that would make a net 4th place. His start has been nothing short of incredible, and he is making some superb progress through the field. Again, a driver who we've been waiting to see our first win. We know he's got the potential for it. I think Imola was one of his best chances, where he had a few incidents towards the end, but you know what? He likes Italy, he likes these tracks, and he likes a shock result. And you know what? With the way he's going, I wouldn't put it past him to go all the way.
1 second, Owen. I'm just on the VAR at the moment. Safety car comes out, and then Ben Harrett pits. So yeah, Ben Harrett's stop. I don't know if sorry if you've already covered this, but Ben Harrett's 1 stop that he's done is non-mandatory. So just to confirm, Gareth is net P4.
So it wasn't enough then. I was hoping Ben had done enough, but oh well. Gareth won't mind that too much then, because let's say he completely missed the first corner and actually cost him the position to Ben initially, but well, he'll get back ahead eventually.
I'm sure he will. I was going to bring up a point earlier, but it's gone from my mind, so I shall leave you to it for the moment.
I can see they're still struggling under Delta, because it's quite frustrating seeing the whole pack just not bunching up until now, because they've essentially had to let the whole field come through. And now that they've done that, finally we'll get the safety car actually starting to pack some drivers up. It felt like that took longer than it normally does.
Yeah, so the point I was going to make, actually, 3 Jokers tonight, and the luck of them has not been good. Obviously Sullivan couldn't race, Jamie's just sped under safety car, and Jake has DNF from the race. So we have a straight up race here at Monza to the end now. The real race is actually starting in P9, isn't it? I wonder if yeah, even Jamie Griffiths, even with the drive-through, it's not really going to help him, is it? So Esty, Mats, Corey, Iceman, Gareth, Kieran, all looking good. Kieran says 2 stops, but he's only done 1 mandatory. But that is the net top 5 for now, and then you'll find them P19 to P14. That's JACKOCAR.
So will we see the safety car? I would have thought 1 more lap. I know Yuri's almost a lap down, but well, we saw with Casper, it went even though he wasn't quite there. So I would hope that we'll see the safety car in at the... Oh, Jimmy, right. That was way too close for comfort, as he nearly put it in the wall under safety car. That would have been an embarrassing way to go out of that race.
He has just won a stage point though, so he'll take that.
A swift recovery, my goodness. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked on board, but that looked like he was slightly out of control. Nice, they head through that first chicane, so I would expect we'll be in at the end of this lap. And this is the thing, we've seen, what, 1.5 racing laps so far in 8?
Yep.
And this is the thing, this is where you've got to get these pit stops in. There might not be the biggest chance for big racing out here, just with how tricky the conditions are. And I'm also wondering, is there any chance SC Matt will think about appealing that 3-second time penalty? Will he maybe try and get it taken down to just a warning?
It wouldn't happen. We don't remove penalties that are of 3 seconds. So it's multiples of 5 only.
Well, there goes his.
There goes his. Penalty will stand.
Yeah. Because I tell you, that's what I'd be doing if I was a driver. I'd be straight away saying, it should only be awarded. I didn't mean to do it. But yeah, so it means he's going to have to make that 3 seconds by himself. I mean, I'm
telling you, he's looking really good for this win. It's Corey.
He is. He's looking really good. Iceman right behind him, though, looking just as good. Although, of course, Corey got him so easily on that restart. Gareth, though, I mean, I say that Gareth needs a miraculous result here tonight. I mean, he's putting himself in the position for it, isn't he? So maybe he could also be a factor, knowing that he's really got nothing to lose. Even if he finishes in 3rd place, it's tight. He really does need a massive result. And will we see the safety car coming in again then, as they head through the final corner? The lights are still on. And if they're going to go out now, they'd be leaving it ridiculously late. And I believe we will be seeing that for one more lap.
Yep, I'm just confirming to the boys in the ART camp that Ben Harrett's stop is currently under review. I've called it on stream as illegal, but we'll give them the opportunity to send in footage. So we will assume for now it's non-mandatory. But Ben Harrett, if he believes it is mandatory, he'll continue racing and he'll provide the footage after. But Jamie Wright, with that stage point that he just won OMY, I think he's hit a... Oh no, it's his 16th stage win. I thought he was close to overtaking Kyle, but he's still 1 stage behind Kyle all time. They are now on 16 and 17 respectively. The record remains with Arnold de Grief on 23.
And confirmation then from Jake that Ben's pit stop was a fully intentional non-mandatory, so that sort of solves that conundrum. As what's taking Yuri so long then to catch up? Because I mean the whole rest of the field is waiting for you, lad. He's not having a good week, is he?
He's not.
Last at the minute, last in the last race in the K series, essentially. And I know a lot of cars had to crash out in front of him, but he was running at the back right at the end when he needed to be at the front. And well, where he is at the minute, he's got a long afternoon in front of him, as the safety car will be coming in this lap, and hopefully he'll be called up by the time it goes in, as Jamie Wright packs the field up a lot earlier than it was on the last restart. So I might actually give Yuri a chance.
Where is Yuri? Of course, Yuri and Jamie seem to have a little deal under safety car, don't they? We saw it in Spain earlier this season. Jamie went onto the grass to let Yuri unlap himself. And didn't we see it in Japan as well? One of them went off to let the other through and it didn't quite work. But Yuri should just about catch up.
He'll have
He'll be fine.
Properly fired up tyres at the very least when he gets there. But here comes Jamie Wright then to the restart line. It's very hard to see it really, but he's past it just there now, and he's wasting no time getting his foot down, and he is down the road. As we see, Ben Spurs has had an extraordinary restart. He's straight up to the head of those one-starters, but of course he hasn't yet made his first mandatory, and now he's letting people back through. So did he go too early? Corey is going to be finding a way.
Has gone in the back of Jess.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I was looking at Gareth, because Gareth might be able to find a way through, but he got blocked up by that. He was in the middle of overtaking Iceman, and he loses out as Kieran goes off for a spin. A few more cars following him off, and nearer to the front of the grid, we've got Pete side by side with Connor. At the front, it's still Jamie Jordan, and T's trying to have a little look on OKK. But that, I'd say, as we see Iceman going off the road, trying to pass ST Mats, Leroy is up there as well, so Gareth's lost more ground. He's boxed in between Ben and between Leroy, so he's not quite getting the rub of the green at the moment, and he's sliding around He needs, like I say, that big result, and right now he's not quite getting there. As off the road goes Jess. And side by side, even still now, they're still going for a tease. And okay, that was nearly a collision on the straight, and that would have been an airplane accident if they'd kept that one up. As down the inside goes tease. Oh, it's a crazy move. That was never going to work. OKK almost certainly going to scamper across the grass. He loses the position. Corey gives him a wee tap when he comes back on, and now it's side by side between Corey and Tees in towards the final corner. He'll be scared a little bit there. These two, the most aggressive drivers on the grid, and they're making contact almost inevitably as they head through the final corner. Tees is pushing him off the road and spinning into the wall. A bit of karma for that one as Corey does exit that corner ahead without damage.
Yep, racing contact there, nothing wrong with that, unfortunately for Tez, and now is only one position behind Jamie Wright, who has to make a stop. Don't forget, Corey took the net lead of this race when Esty went at the back of Jess at turn 1 on the restart. I don't think he got any damage from it, but of course Ben had to brake, and then Corey just took advantage as they were both struggling and fighting. You saw Ben off at the second chicane, which we're coming up to now, but Corey absolutely flying. Iceman has finally found his way through, but ST Max's race not ruined yet. He's making his second stop. I wonder if that's for a front wing. He's already left the pits, so we'll find out when they all realign themselves with pit stops, but Corey is the man at the moment. J-Luke, 2 stops to go, Corey with 1.
Has Yuri got any pit stop, mandatory pit stops done yet? Because he's sitting here in a very handy position after that restart. Up there in P7, chasing down his speed teammate in Gareth. And he's actually going to overtake him, is he? Down the back straight, a fantastic run. Tricky to make a move into Ascari. Hopefully they'll be a bit more sensible than Tees was on the last lap. And he does get through Yuri, so he's making very good progress now.
From what I understand, Yuri only has 1 non-mandatory, or we'll get back to you on that.
So he could be to the end then, actually.
He could well be, and a threat for the win.
Well, we'll definitely be getting VAR on that one because he's absolutely in the ballpark. But Jamie Griffiths, the Joker had already gone, but he's now on the wall, and it's another safety car. I would say Iceman was committed, by the way.
He's Iceman committed. Nobody else will be.
He takes a 5-second penalty. Which, that actually might well affect him because he doesn't really want to be making another pit stop in this race, so he can't really take that penalty in a pit stop, and so he may have to carry that one to the checkered flag, but it's a good move regardless to see what was coming and make that pit stop, so the penalty may well be worth the pain that has been inflicted upon him.
The worst thing for him now is a safety car later in the race, but the stop itself is mandatory, so he's good to the end. Does anybody else pit at this time? Now is a great time actually to check Yuri's stops. I do believe I only have 1 non-mandatory down. Michel Goris will stay out, and Tez will also stay out. So yeah, I'll check and I'll let you talk over.
So I'd say the longer this goes on, the more Yuri's chances of a victory sort of work out, because it keeps him right there with Corey, who will obviously have to pit again. Ben has to pit twice. Leroy has to pit. And obviously Jamie right at the front of this has to pit twice somewhere in all this as well. The rain is starting to lighten a little bit, so I do wonder if they might be thinking about the intermediates at some point. Actually, I wonder if anyone who pitted is on inters. We haven't checked. Tees is on the intermediates, and so we can sort of gauge his progress and see sort of how we're looking on that. And maybe the intermediates will be the move when these guys go for the next pit stop. So perhaps Iceman's second stop has been perhaps mistimed. We'll have to find that one out as the race progresses, because we're not even at the halfway point yet. And elsewhere, just want to say really, ST Mats, I'm going to assume he did have some sort of front wing damage. I'm going to quickly check. More pit stops, more non-mandatory. So Yuri's in again for intermediates. So we are seeing this crossover point. And so, Iceman, did he make a mistake in not putting intermediates on when he took the perfectly timed second stop? I think he did, you know. Is that going to bite him in the ass? Because he's got the 5-second penalty as well. The rain is definitely lighter. But Yuri has put on inters. So actually, it's only Gareth who's gone for the inters out of those guys. So this makes him the lead intershod driver. Interesting. Of course, he still has to make another mandatory stop.
Don't mind me.
Okay. So the safety car has finally picked up the leader. They take their time, don't they, doing this? But eventually we get there, and so we'll be another sort of 2 or 3 laps before we get racing again. And in that time, we'll see if the track is ready for intermediates. It's not like real life this, where the wet tires are totally useless. They're very much getting their work cut out for them in this one. And that might be why Jamie has stayed out so long, do 2 inter stints and pit with everyone else and lessen the blow, because there has to be a reason why he has stayed out for this long.
The news you've been waiting for, Yuri is clear. His first 2 pit stops were under green, the second of which was right as a safety car was coming out, but he is legal and good to the end, so that is 4th position.
Will he then regret not sticking intermediates on? Honestly, if you're finished your pit stop strategy, I'd frankly be in the pits again and just sticking intermediates on. And there's a lot of slowing down going on, because I reckon these guys might even still be under delta time, because there's no reason why Gareth can't be catching it. I know he's on inters, but I would still imagine inters will be decent enough. Not 6 seconds off the pace, but he's off the track. So maybe they aren't ready. Oh, it's right in the middle of this crossover, isn't it? Because it will come to these guys, because behind a safety car you don't lose a pit stop. Because when it all backs up, as long as you don't see your rivals go 20 seconds down the road in 2 laps, you'll be fine.
I think it's worth committing to if you're on the inters. Certainly Gareth, that's what he's done by staying out here. Who else behind him is on them though? KK is not.
Tease is on them. Tease is on them.
Is it just the 2 of them, is it?
Yeah, I think Tease, did he make his stop in green conditions? I want to say he did, because obviously he smashed his front wing up. And so he only has one more stop to make, so he's, he can still play a factor in this, just due to the fact that I think he's on the right tyres for the next few laps. But it's definitely been an interesting race, because it's one of those rare ones where you just don't get much on-track racing. It's a bit like sort of what we're used to seeing in real life F1 races actually in the rain, where most of it's done with the strategy. Where do you go for intermediates? Because most of the racing is going to be done in the strategy rooms.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we've not even
race, don't we?
We've not even started the Mavs yet. We've not even thought about the Mavs, because we don't know the order yet. So I'm not, I shouldn't have mentioned it. Ignore the Mavs. The Mavs are irrelevant at this stage of the race. Although, if you wanted to give a quick projection, as of right now, we'd be losing Tees and we'd be losing Gareth. That's about all I can tell you so far, but it's a little bit irrelevant for now.
And for Owen, for all the English-speaking people that are listening, Mavs is maths, to those of you that don't understand Northern Irish.
You trying to be funny?
I'm not trying to be funny. I just I had to work out. I had to really think about it for a second. I was like, oh, he's on about numbers.
You've worked with me for what, 4 or 5 years on this? Surely you know how I say Mavs.
Yeah, and it's awful. I hate it. Can you say it properly?
Nath. I can't. No.
You can't.
I can't. I can't. It's not on my vocabulary, I'm afraid.
By the way, back to the racing. Jamie Wright has won the 2nd stage of the race. That's 2 playoff points. He extends his lead in the playoffs over Kieran Spears, who sits P2, by the way, to what is that? That is 11 points now. And we've not even got to next week with Brazil.
So I would have thought the safety car will be in this lap. I tell you what, Bert Mailander. Well, actually, is he even in the car? I think we've had this debate before, where there's actually a driver model in the safety car. But let's just imagine that Bert Mailander is in that car, but I don't think he is. He's led an incredible amount of laps today. So, honestly, I'll be sticking him on the chart at some point. He may well get the most laps led today. But it means that we have a very interesting prospect for the end of this race, as it'll definitely be in this lap. If it's not in this lap, Codemasters have got problems. It always gives me a bit of a flashback to when we tried an F2 league and it was just 90% safety car. But luckily, it is coming in at the end of this lap. And Jamie Wright, well, we know he was good at the last restart. I imagine he'll have no issues with this one, although of course with Corey behind him, never say never.
Jamie Wright only needs to lead 2 more laps and he'll get another playoff point as well for most laps led, but he's going to have Corey right on him. And Corey, however, cannot go to the end, only on 1 stop. So your net race leader, Iceman with a penalty and on the wrong tyres.
Yeah.
So your net race leader maybe Gareth.
It could be Gareth. It could be. But he's got to make another
13.
stop. He's got to make another stop. This is the problem. It's going to be a very weird restart to this one. Maybe if Yuri can make it work, he'll be okay as we do get underway. Yuri's the only one I can say is confidently going to the end of this race. And look at him. He's in the middle of a pack of 4 side-by-side cars. And Gareth is, of course, well clear of all this as he heads for on those intermediate tires. But look at Pete on his inside. How are these guys going to be able to fight with the Intershot driver who's going wide and off the track and being done round the outside by Jordan? That's a big move for him. He's having a really good run on a day where he needs to be getting the big points on the board to stay in this championship. As Corey has had a big moment, and that puts Leroy into a very handy position, but he's off the road. Ben Spurs. And he's going to fall behind Kieran now. He's into 3rd position. All this is happening behind Jamie Wright, who is absolutely bolted on those 15-lap old wet tyres. Surely a pit stop imminent for him as Corey side by side and ahead of Ben and up into 4th place. And I tell you what then, Gareth, the gamble's not working at the moment. He's falling way, way down. And this is potentially wrecking his championship as you see Michel Goris side by side and then into the back, and Iceman's falling down as well with Connor, and he's being done by Yuri as well. Where's Yuri in this? They're 3 wide on the way down towards the Ascari chicane, and Yuri's a guy that'll be surely trying to protect his car because he's in a net race lead at the moment.
Yeah, and Pete, by the way, flying as well on those new tyres as well. He's just done Jordan into Ascari. What a move. J-Luke, by the way, 2-second lead nearly. Leroy finds himself in P2, the new regular season champion in the Kia series, as he has a moment through Parabolica. But what happened to Corey on the exit at 2? Perhaps just not getting the power down once again. But we have a new established top 5 for the moment, but Pete Knighton is the man on a charge.
He's on a charge. I think Yuri's on an even bigger charge. He's going for P8 on the road now. He's having a fantastic race. And I said it, he was right at the back earlier on. He's glad that safety car let him catch up because he's going round the outside into turn 1. Still there. Be careful, Yuri, because you've got a good chance to make that one stick. And there's contact on the exit. And Ben's going to go for it, and round goes Yuri. Oh, no. That could bring a safety car out. There's a lot of debris. I think we'll be okay now, but that's Yuri, the net race leader. Well, he's got damage. Even if he couldn't get it back, he's going to have to pit again, I'd say, regardless. And we do keep green, so no more safety car action for now, as we see Connor running around with no front wing. And so, goodness knows where that leaves us now.
I have no idea who's winning this at the moment. Corey isn't as fast as he was on the previous stint. I'm really not sure what Connor was up to there when Yuri had the move done. I don't know if he was squeezed from the outside of the track by another car, but it's ruined his race and Yuri's race. And Esty Mattis, who was fast early on the Inters, is now struggling and lounging around at the back in P16. Gareth likewise cannot get those Inters working. It's looking good for Jordan for the moment.
It does look good for Jordan at the moment, and well, I'm expecting to see some pit stops again soon, as we do indeed see the race leader into the pits. So we're going to see the rest of this race starting to shape up. But what's he going to go on to? Because based on the evidence from Gareth, Inters aren't the tyre, but maybe they will be later on. And there's a lot more side-by-side still going on as Michel Goris moves up the field. I really don't know how to predict this, as Connor has cut a corner and gained a place, and Pete is diving down the inside on Jordan. Oh, I just don't know what to think about this. Jamie has gone on to new wets, but it's spitting with rain. It's spitting. I think the Inters are the tyre now.
Oh, I'm really not sure. I was just reminding everyone, Kieran with 2 stops, only one of them is mandatory, but he is at the moment in a fight for a battle for the lead, because I do believe at this point Leroy is actually on course
to win
this race somehow out of nowhere.
And look at this, side by side, Gareth and Jamie. Well, Gareth backed off, but he was certainly giving Jamie some trouble, and Jamie's going wide as well. So I would, you know, this is a good case study. If you're all intermediates, you need to be able to keep up with this. But no, look at that, Connor. He hasn't even got a front wing on the car, and those wets are still working better, and that's confusing me so much because it is spitting with rain.
I think it might be safe to say Gareth could be heading for an exit in the round of 10 and joining us in the Championship 5 commentary booth.
One more safety car.
He needs a miracle.
One more safety car. That's all he needs. It could work out with one more safety car. if he pits at the right time. Into the pits comes Corey. What's he going to go on to? He's in the pit as a yellow flag comes out.
It's Yori.
It is Yori, but is he out of the race? I don't think he is, and we may not get a safety car for it because that would have made Corey's day as he puts on a set of intermediate tyres. So he has decided it's time for them. And he's the first of the main runners to go for this. And he's going to the end as well. So this is going to be the first proper chance to see, is this going to be a race-winning move for the man who currently sits bottom of the championship? Will we yet again in the Cup Series see the bottom place driver win a race?
What's going to annoy him is Connor driving around on a front wing. On no front wing. Should Corey manage to fire up the inters, but again he's just struggling for traction. He's still heading into Curva Grande. That's how hard it is for him getting out of turn 2. He's 27 seconds off the lead with 8 laps to go, Owen Wyatt. Leroy and Kieran are in the box seat here to take advantage. Should they have somebody telling them what's happening, they can undercut Corey and still go on and win this race. But is the into the right tyre? The gap is down to 0.6 at the front as Corey is still struggling to get past Connor, who pulls away on the exit. No DRS, remember, not in the wet weather. The gap is going up, it's 27.2, 0.3, and Kieran is actually closing in on Leroy, but both of these are now pitting. This is the time. What is it going to be for?
I think it has to be intermediates. Even if they're slow for the first lap or two, they're going to be the tyre at the end that you want to be on. Although Iceman, of course, is going to try and get to the end and just hope he doesn't lose much time, really. Because there's no obligation for him to pit again. He's done. He's on his way. But let's see. Does Corey at least manage to come out in front of all these guys who pitted? Leroy was the leader before, and I tell you what, Leroy's a long way clear as he comes out of the pit lane. And so it's not going to be Leroy chasing down Iceman. Have any of the other top 4 got a pit again? They're all. I would say Casper on 4 stops. Is he good?
Casper's good.
He's our race leader then, based on the lack of a 5-second penalty. So Casper is the race leader, and he was running right at the back earlier on, wasn't he? And so we will be excitedly watching him. What I would have thought that Iceman would pull away, but I do think this is too slow now for the wets. Oh, we're going to see this properly. It's going to be a proper chase. They're not all going to pit, surely. I'd be amazed.
Don't forget, the safety car wouldn't even wait for Casper. That's how far behind he was. And now he's in contention for the race win, but maybe Iceman can do it. But OK, you mentioned top 4. OKK still has to pit. He will be caught, I'm sure, by Leroy and Kieran, though. But he has to be, because he has to pit, doesn't he? Silly me. Yori makes another stop. I think he may end up getting lapped here.
Purple medal sector for Leroy. He is the man. He is the man. But he's got Kieran all over the back of him. As Iceman, though, sets the fastest lap. He's going to hit back on them. Will Corey be able to set a fastest lap? The first driver on those intermediates to set a flying lap as Michel Goris into the pits. OKK into the pits. And the stage is now set for the last 7 laps of the first elimination race of the season, and Corey is the fastest driver out there. The intermediates are going to keep coming to these guys, but will 17.6 seconds, will that gap be closed? Will Leroy set the clean sweep in JACKOCAR this week? He's got a big task in front of him, and he's got Kieran to defend from all the way to the checkered flag.
Isn't it, I do believe Yori, his brother, is the only man to ever sweep both race wins in a week. Kia Series and Cup Series. Maybe the Hazelager brothers are going for another sweep here. Leroy,
tell you what,
regular season champion, so what a week it's been for him if he can pull this off. 16 seconds to go.
The thing is, it's only really 11 seconds because of Iceman's penalty, so he doesn't even have to worry about fighting Iceman. And this is where Iceman's going to be kicking himself, so I would say the man he'll be focusing on the most is Kieran. Because Kieran's got more ERS, he's got more. I would say he's got more pace. Corey's nowhere near them, so I'd say it's going to end up being a proper fight between these two. Because surely the gap will close. Inevitably, it will close. They've only got to do 11.4 seconds, and they're good.
That's true, and also if you have to end up fighting Casper, he's not as aggressive on pad as he is on wheel. So it should be an easy fight should they catch up to Casper. He's had a great recovery drive, but will it be enough?
Of course, the
they're trading fastest lap times now.
The problem is, though, of course, this is one of the most flat-out tracks on the calendar. And Iceman, I think, has the setup with the best straight-line speed, which means the gains that these guys will make on the intermediates may not be as big as they would be on, say, Singapore or Monaco if we had this sort of situation. So, maybe he will hide on. Maybe he will hide on. 6 to go. Maybe he'll just about do it. I really do not know. I tell you what, though, a safety car right now would be very interesting.
It would, wouldn't it? Because who'd you put your money on in a safety car? Because
I'd
Leroy, Kieran, and Corey have all traded fast lap times.
I put my money on Corey on a safety car. I think he's desperate for a chance at this, isn't he? And the rain is so light. I'm not going to suggest it might stop, but it's brightening up a lot at the minute.
The thing for Corey as well is, forget the front four. He's the lead chase driver at the moment. And then Ben Spurs still has to make another stop. Jordan's in the playoffs as well. He's doing enough. He's not doing enough. Tez is right behind him, so Jordan would be getting eliminated along with Gareth as it stands. Tez and Leroy and Casper, +2, +8, +9. They're doing all right at the moment, so a safety car would really shake this up, wouldn't it? Then here it comes! Here it comes, Owen!
Well, Iceman will surely be in the pits. I think we'll be under Delta this whole lap. This should give Iceman the opportunity to make that pit stop. He's got an 18.7 second lead. That is well within the Delta that you need to make a pit stop. Casper will be in the pits as well. He's the one who brought the safety car out. Funnily enough, I would have thought. I mean, he hasn't got a front wing, so I would assume it's him that's done it. Are we seeing a bit of crash gate there? But this is going to give us... There's only 4 laps to go. Or 5 laps to go, I should say. This will not let the whole field catch up this time, I don't think. The field spread's too big. There's no one lapped, but I just don't think it'll be enough. And since they love to run under Delta for the whole first lap of the safety car, will we just see the whole field in? And the track is going to dry up quickly, because I tell you what, the rain's going to stop in a minute. The rain's going to stop in a minute. And they're not going to go on dries, but it'll be intermediates that'll be a bit on the edge. And this could be... Well, I've always said it, and I said it last week. Monza in JACKOCAR Cup Series, you want to be watching lap 27. It's always when it kicks off, without fail.
Yeah, always, and it dare I say, it's happening again. Oh, and it's always... We look back to Season 2, OKK's win on the Joker. It concluded with what? The drivers catching right up to him, and he held on.
And Iceman can't believe his luck, I bet you. I bet he cannot believe this. Although, I'll tell you what, though, the gap isn't exactly true. Because Casper speeds, but actually, the gap, 16 seconds, it's not. Because Iceman's only putting the new tyres on now. There will be drivers that will pass him, but it won't be as bad as it would have been. Jordan will get Iceman, I would have thought, in between him and Tees, possibly? Yes, so that helps Jordan out massively. Massively.
So Jordan is now 3 positions. No, he's not. Tees has found 1. So they're level on points, but Tees is through on countback if it stays like that.
Oh, there's going to be so much to watch on this restart, man. This is...
Gareth is way out of it down in P14. I feel like he might be a lost cause at this point.
It would need, well, an Austria K Series-esque pile-up for him to be the main benefactor of, and even then, that would still not be enough. You know what I mean? He's that far out of it. So, yeah. Well, we'll see. Never say never. But it looks pretty grim at the minute. As we see the last wet runner finally taking his wets off.
We're forgetting about Jamie Griffiths out of this race. He come into the playoffs, Owen, just to make the Mavs even more difficult for you.
That's a good point.
So we're assuming Gareth is out, but Jamie Griffiths +9 coming into the race. Jordan sits P5, which is 12 points. Tez, who is within 2 points of Jordan, so he would go through. Casper. 11th place is 6 points, so he would jump ahead of Jamie Griffiths. And who's the other driver? Leroy, who's currently leading this race. So as it stands, Jamie Griffiths is going to be eliminated with Gareth.
Wow, wow, wow.
But it relies on the other 4 drivers of Leroy, Jordan, Casper and Tez to finish the race where they are.
Well, this is where your calculator will come in very handy, because it'll be hard to keep a track of this. I would have
I'll tell you at the end.
I would imagine that lap 25 will be the last safety car lap. So if you aren't on the back of the pack by the time we see Casper's in the pits. Casper's in the pits. Well, he has to outscore him by a point, in fairness. So
he needs 1 point.
Yeah, so
to tie Jamie Griffiths.
What he's doing
and he
here,
would win on countback.
What he's doing here is he's losing the penalty. I would imagine that's what he's trying to do here, and then hopefully get himself on the back of the pack again and actually be able to fight for positions, because he'd fall back this far anyway. So actually, this does make sense what he's doing. And this will be so tense. The rain isn't going to stop by the looks of it, so it will be still a suitable condition for intermediates. And so it will just be all about that run to the end. And Leroy, well, he knows how to win in JACKOCAR. Kieran knows how to win in JACKOCAR. For Corey, it's been a while. And for Ben, it's never happened. Same for Jordan. So any one of those 5, they're in such varied situations, because Jordan would love to win a race, because it would put him well up in the championship contention, and you can see it in front of him. If it needs a mental restart, but that's what you get around this track. As we see a car off, Michel Goris has stalled the car. He's on the curb, look. Oh, do you know what?
Lucky.
In fairness, it stops at DSQ, doesn't it? But he will finish. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I think he's done everything right there.
Yeah, I would have preferred he'd do it in the pit lane, but his car's going to be well out the way.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for him. And, well, we're only going to see 2 cars, I think, not make the restart. So that's not the end of the world. Yuri and Connor, they will have more chances later on in the season. But we're going to be all eyes on the front, because the safety car is heading around the Parabolica, and Leroy faces a late safety car restart to win a race in Italy. We've seen it before this season. He was able to successfully do it in Imola. Can he repeat the same trick here at Monza? He's on the ERS, he's away, and I tell you what, Kieran was asleep at the wheel, because this is going to be Ben Spurs all the way up to 3rd place already. Jordan side by side with Corey. Oh, how brave do you want to be on the brakes right outside to turn 1? The championship could go here as T's up into the top 5. He's having a properly good restart, and right goes Corey, and they come together with Jordan, Jacko. It's Jacko. Whereas Jordan and T's coming together. That's going to put Gareth already up to 7th place. He's getting the positions he needs, but he needs a lot more than that to get into the next round. 7/10 at the front as wide goes Leroy. Is he feeling the pressure? Can Ben Harrett win his first ever race in the Cup Series? He's right in with a shot at this.
He's not. Ben still needs to make a mandatory stop. He's only done 1 of each.
You're
not. So
kidding me.
Leroy has a 1 second gap to Kieran.
Oh no!
This is what we discussed earlier. It's what we discussed earlier, and Jake confirmed it to us. It was a non-intentional, non-mandatory stop. For what reason, I do not know, because he didn't need to pit, but he's going to miss out on the chance to win a race. Does Leroy know that, though? Does Kieran know that?
I didn't know it, so who knows what they're going to know? You would have assumed at the end of a race that he'd be in the position to get the win, but I suppose not. Saying that, Leroy is doing a superb job to hold this advantage, and he's only got 1 more lap to go here in Monza. He's going to have the clean sweep in Italy as it stands, and Ben will pit. So fair enough, he will get in. That'll put Pete as an incredibly happy chase driver, because he'll be finishing on the podium as it stands, and it'll put him right to the top of the standings in that respect. But he's got to get to the end of the lap first, as does Leroy, as does Kieran. It can also happen because the track is still very greasy out there, and these guys still struggling for pace, it is safe to say. And Jordan
Gareth
ahead of Okeka, who's put out a yellow flag. So Jordan, I'd say with where he is, I think we're good with him. So despite the accident at the start of the last lap, P7 should be enough for him, because Tees is nowhere. And he's, well, Connor's in the wall actually. That'll help Tees a little bit. And Kieran's gone and lost a position to Pete. Has there been a mistake by him? Pete up into 2nd place. And Iceman off the road. And SD Matt's in the wall with no front wing. And Kieran's letting a lot of guys through. He's letting Gareth up into the podium positions. He needs more than this. He needs more than this to get himself up there. And is Pete's going to let him through as well? I'm wondering if this is the speed drivers trying to engineer a result here for Gareth. He would need the race win. That's what he would need.
He needs the win.
I don't know if they're going to do it. I think Pete's going to move over for him now.
It's happening.
And so
it's
it'll
happening.
all be down
it's
to
happening.
Leroy. Leroy's
Gareth
also slowing down.
advance.
And so Gareth, he may not be joining us in the commentary box for the Championship 5. They've recognised that he's got an opportunity to win this race, and he's going to get redemption for Silverstone. This is the perfect team play from Speed.
Unbelievable.
Gareth takes the checkered flag, and that is the perfect way to get yourself into the next round of the of the playoffs.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
Well, me and Gareth commentated on the same thing happening, didn't we? In Saudi Arabia, of course, a certain Jack Ricketts stole the victory that day. It was meant to go to another speed driver, but that is the Speed team play at work, and it has gone absolutely perfectly. So that will put Gareth from the bottom of the playoffs straight through to the next round. Of course, that now means someone's going to get the calculators out and figure out who's been eliminated.
Owen, if you do the commentating, I'll just take some pictures. Pete Knight, speed driver of the day. Yeah, I'm going to do some maths. You talk to everyone.
So, that is definitely redemption then for Silverstone. Gareth is a winner in the JACKOCAR Cup Series. And sure, it's a gifted victory, but it's a team play and it keeps him in the championship, and everyone likes to see that. And so that puts him straight through, and there's nothing to worry about there. Leroy will be happy enough with second place and Pete with third. I believe that's how it finished in the end. Yes, it was. And so the order there: Kieran ended up fourth, Iceman fifth, Jordan I would say is through in sixth, SD Mats, OKK, Jamie Wright, and Yuri the top 10. Then Casper, Tease, Corey, Ben, Jess, Connor, and Michelle Goris, Jamie Griffiths, MK Bourne, and Jake. I mean, Jamie Griffiths could be in trouble here with that win for Gareth Hall, and Tease possibly could be in trouble as well.
I've got it. Jordan +4, Tez -4, and Jamie Griffiths will go out with him.
So there you go then.
Provisionally, I could be wrong on that.
Well,
hold the line.
That's what I'm working out as well. That's sort of what I'm coming to as well, because it makes sense because Tease was 8th anyway, and he's only finished 12th in the race, nowhere near where he needed to be. And Jimmy Griffiths has been beaten by everyone who needed to beat him. So I think that does mean that we lose Jamie Griffiths. And no.
Yeah, this Tease and Jamie Griffiths are gone.
Yeah.
By some miracle, Casper, who was, half a lap down under safety car, was out at one point. Gareth, who was out the entire race. I'm sure it's Jamie Griffiths by a point and Tez by a couple of points, but we'll have to wait for the professionals on that. What an insane race.
And again, that is just the worst luck possible. Jamie Griffiths goes from 5th in, comfortable enough to out, and it was on his Joker as well. I mean, it all just went terribly wrong in the one race where you're meant to take full advantage, and that is just how unpredictable the Cup Series can be. And the only thing we predicted right was that Gareth would get help from his teammates, and that's going to be a proper weapon for these guys to use for the rest of the season, getting the speed drivers through into the playoffs, further through towards that Championship 5. I'm sure they would love it to be 5 speed drivers fighting for the championship. But as it stands, we have a winner tonight in Gareth, his first in the Cup Series. It keeps our run alive, of course, of new winners in the Cup Series. I'm losing count now. I feel like, 9, 10 different winners in the Cup Series this season?
That's 9 from 12 races.
9 from 12 races. So, brilliant to see. It looked like we might have got a chase winner for a while, but we'll have to wait until next week to have a chance at that. Next week in Brazil, where we've seen many a dramatic JACKOCAR race in the past. I hope you'll all be joining us for that one. It's been a brilliant race tonight, and we shall leave you to digest whatever on earth that was. So thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you on Tuesday. Jack will be back with me on Thursday, and safe travels.